Book of Boba Fett is Disney's new Star Wars creation, and because it is Disney Star Wars, there is absolutely nothing new about it. Everything so far we have seen before and done a lot better. It's actually hard to tell the difference between the last show and this one, except somehow this one looks worse and makes less sense. Now, even before the series started, the Disney laziness was on full show. You would expect the trailer to give us something new to be excited about. All this trailer showed us was that we were going to get more of the same. Witness the return of a legend? What the hell are you talking about? We've already witnessed that 5 minutes ago in your Mando show. Even the thumbnail for the trailer has Boba looking defeated. Poor bastard thought he'd be retired by now. So the first episode's getting directed by Robert Rodriguez, and that's always a mistake. He proved in The Mandalorian his directing is at an all-time low, especially when it comes to action. Now, there are some main problems with this show that are a reoccurring theme with Disney, and we will get to all of them over the series. But first, let's start with the stupid, what should be easy to fix problems. Problems that should have been picked up along the way by any creative halfwit. These are the problems that Disney defenders love to call nitpicks. Nitpick has become the shorthand for any blind Disney-loving fan for, I know it's a problem, but I just don't care. And these nitpicks can be small things that just make you wonder, why didn't anyone correct that? To large, universe-breaking problems that take you out of the story with their stupidity. And as long as the blind Disney fan can call out nitpick, then it's all supposedly good in the House of Mouse space adventure. Plus, the number of nitpicks also doesn't make any difference to the quality. There is no straw that broke the camel's back with the modern Disney fan when it comes to mistakes or bad choices. Each one is judged individually. A fight scene could look like it was choreographed by the blind mystic Bubba Venga with multiple glaring mistakes, and as long as each mistake can be called a nitpick, then we are good to go. Hooray, Star Wars. The modern Star Wars fan also doesn't like any suggestion that anything could have been done any differently, whereas the OT fans, and even more so the crazy prequel fans, who get a lot of joy out of memeing on the movies,
I don't like sand.
the Disney Star Wars fan, for some reason feels like they have to defend every single frame of anything that comes out of the modern Lucasfilm studio. And any criticism of the new Star Wars is all taken very personally. And I'd just like to say as a trigger warning, if you are getting at all offended by me criticising the new Disney Star Wars product, please do not take it personally because I don't know who the fuck you are. So we are back in the desert, thank God. You know the Obi-Wan show will also feature the desert of Tatooine. That's 3 out of 3 shows. Glorious. Boba's chilling in the tank and we get our first of many minutes of flashbacks. But these early ones are just to remind us that we are watching something made by people with zero imagination, about a character who was created by a person with an incredible imagination. And one of the first questions to arise is, why did they remake the scene from Clone Wars? Was it for some money laundering reason? And why was it made less interesting by removing the big dead animal? They also miss a huge opportunity here when they go for close-up. They should have had Jango's severed head still on the helmet. Then we are straight into the Sarlacc guts to see how Boba Fett escaped. Now, I wouldn't care if we ever saw the escape from the Sarlacc. Just him talking about it in some future episode could have given way more meaning to what happened. Maybe he could have told the story when he comes face to face with Han. Yes, we will be seeing Han Solo, because now that Luke Skywalker's one and only scene in The Mandalorian made everyone weep, we are going to repeat that nostalgia nut juice idea every series. Yes, Boba describing what he went through to escape the Sarlacc could be quite a powerful scene when he comes face to face with the person that put him in the Sarlacc.
What if he doesn't survive?
But the team at Lucasfilm decided to go ahead and include one of the most talked about ideas since the end of Return of the Jedi. How did Boba Fett escape the Sarlacc? Now, there's been plenty of ideas over the years, so surely this is a great opportunity to explode this new series out of the gate with the heart-pounding struggle of Boba Fett against the Beast. Nope, we don't get that at all. No race against time, no ingenious combination of weapons and jetpack to escape, just a random stormtrooper whose only reason for being there was because those stormtrooper outfits are the easiest and cheapest option for Disney. Where was this guy that went in? And this guy. We can't really have a dissolving body in a kid-friendly Disney Plus selling show now, can we? Just shove a stormtrooper in there and the new little Disney fanboys will instantly have a little bit of pre-cum. Boba just pulls out a hose from the stormtrooper that conveniently we have never seen before to get some air, and he must be amazing at holding his breath because he takes just a couple of breaths, then flamethrowers his way out of the beast. The Sarlacc doesn't even flinch. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm guessing if you're in a huge carcass with limited air, that burning off all the remaining air and cooking the meat from within wouldn't be the best way of getting out. But, you know, what would I know? I'm no Disney dreamweaver.
This carcass really stinks.
Then after killing the beast off screen with what seems to be little effort, he digs his way through meters of packed sand like a huge super mole. Brains and weaponry had little to do with his escape. It was just impossible superhuman strength that won the day. They probably realized they fucked up by already doing Boba's escape in The Mandalorian, and because Disney's doing this show on the budget, we're not going to be wasting more money on that fucking shit. So now that he's out, instantly Boba collapses and gets robbed by the Jawas. Now again, this seems quite lazy. I know you have to get Boba Fett's armor and helmet onto the Jawa soundcrawler, but couldn't we have had a little bit of story between him waking up and losing the armor? And seeing as we've already seen the exact same Jawas saving people in the desert and trading with them honestly, this move seems a little out of character.
They offered their finest in exchange.
So I'm guessing Jawas just act however the fucking script needs them to on the day. Much like the fucking Tusken Raiders. But we'll get to that. After the Jawas rob Boba, the Sand People take Boba hostage for no apparent reason. But if we can go by Shmi Skywalker's experience, he was taken to be repeatedly raped. Or maybe it was just to dig for those little water rock shell things they're looking for. Doesn't make a lot of sense to keep a hostage that will use more food and water than he will provide. But I'm sure there was a great reason because Disney always crosses those dots and tees those eyes. The Sand People shit goes on, and we get to see these beautiful native people in their natural habitat. We also get some fucking dark scenes that make the longest night look like it was shot in broad daylight. These dark scenes are appalling and there's no excuse for it. How the hell did we go from the twin sun scene, one of the most beautiful shots in cinema, to this fucking dog shit? But if you can peer through the darkness and work out what the hell's going on, you get the customary Disney scene where our hero Boba gets his ass kicked by a lady. Yay! Fuck you, cool bounty hunter. We finally make it back to present day. It's rather incredible that there are two stories happening at once. Both are fucking boring. Boba has decided to become the local crime lord. Why he's decided to become the new Jabba is anyone's guess. I know the Disney defenders will say it's so he can get rich, and it has nothing to do with Disney's lack of imagination. But with Jabba dead and Boba just walking in and killing everyone, I'm guessing he could have just taken all of Jabba's riches and flown off to whichever planet he wanted to enjoy the retirement he badly needs. What I'm really asking is why would Lucasfilm choose to have him based on fucking Tatooine, an ugly desert planet we've already seen way too many times? Well, we really know why, don't we? All the footage has already been rendered for the big screen they record in front of, and they've already got the sets and costumes, and they're not spending too much money on this bastard. But I'm guessing this will be the last time we see Tatooine. Surely we can't come back here again. Oh, fuck off. Well, at least Obi-Wan is more or less stuck on the shithole planet. Boba Fett could be off anywhere in the galaxy, but that would take imagination from Lucasfilm. The high-flying killer bounty hunter, who was respected enough to negotiate with Vader, now has dreams of living on a slug's throne.
He's worth a lot to me.
The Empire will compensate you if he dies. Put him in.
Imagine if we'd got the show where Boba Fett set out to kill the people that blew up all his friends and tried to kill him. With the current Lucas staff and the hooray for everything soft as fuck fans, we will never see that show. It would have been fun seeing him come out of that hole looking for revenge for what happened on that day. But instead, he never mentions that day again.
You may take Captain Solo to Jabba the Hutt after I have Skywalker.
He's no good to me dead.
We have a scene where all the local heavies turn up to give offerings to our new crime lord. A crime lord who has one sidekick and no other supporters. No heavies, no gunmen, nothing. We actually see him hire his first 2 employees. Now, I'm not sure how many crime films, mafia stories, gangster movies, or westerns the Lucasfilm writers have watched, but that's not how it works. You can't be a crime lord of 2.
We're trapped! All 40 of us! By these 3. Or is it 4?
In the Disney true to form, 2-dimensional writing style we've come to know, Boba Fett is instantly treated like the Godfather that has power over the entire city. Protection money is just handed over freely because he says so. His power is so great in this town full of criminals that he just walks around minus helmet with no fear of attack from rival gangs. In contrast, Jabba lived behind huge blast doors and was surrounded by many aliens and monsters who were protecting him from rival gangs. None of that for Boba and his gang of 1 because he is now such a super badass. He fears no one, no gang, and no blaster. He's very different from his dad Jango, who would be in the shadows killing people from a distance, who could hold his own against the Jedi, but also knew when it was time to leave. Jango was a bounty hunter, assassin, and guard, like Boba used to be. I never got the impression they were meant to be seen as indestructible heavies that could take on whole crime syndicates. But here we are, Boba Fett the crime lord. It's also very unclear how the power works in this town. The mayor sends his delegate to see Boba. Boba, the feared bounty hunter, is acting like royalty and is on his throne accepting gifts from other crime bosses who apparently all just bow down to this dude who has a single hired gun. So the delegate from the mayor's office is the now common stage trained thespian that would be a better fit in Star Trek.
Apologies and appreciation.
I don't like this new Disney trend of the fine English-speaking alien.
Thank you very much.
I prefer the subtitled, weird-sounding aliens, or at least give us back the racially stereotyped aliens. They're all good for a laugh.
Doesn't matter.
Anyhow, this unarmed tentacle head talks to Boba like a complete smartass, and Boba doesn't kill him because, as he says, he works for the mayor. The writers even insert a joke regarding who should be paying who with a gift of respect.
I'm confused.
He wants you to pay him.
What? I'm the crime lord. He's supposed to pay me.
But the writer should have dropped that fucking joke, because in the context of the story, we don't know why anyone would be paying Boba Fett. But the writers have barely bothered with the story because they know once that Boba Fett costume is on screen, Boba Fett could just do a shit on the floor and the faithful would cheer. And speaking of the costume, that scene in which he puts the outfit on, with the over-the-top score blasting the speakers, was so out of touch with how people see Boba Fett. Not to mention, we haven't been waiting 30 years to see it. We've already seen him wearing it in The Mandalorian. We saw him repaint the fucking thing. Now look, everyone loved Boba Fett. Everyone thought he was cool. But it's not exactly Anakin turning into Vader. Calm the fuck down with selling it to us so much. Boba hires 2 Gamoran guards because he's desperate for staff. He also announces loudly that he doesn't do torture.
I do not torture.
Well, I mean, he used to. He used to freeze people in carbonite and have parties in front of him hanging on the wall, as well as go along to watch people getting executed. He was happy to blow away people for $1, but in today's news soft, my SJW views have to be in all my fantasy writing bullshit. Everyone is lovely. So Boba has to align with Disney and announce he doesn't torture, just like those camps in China, the ones Disney thanked in the Milan credits. They don't torture either. Why are the Gamoran guards so fucking skinny? Can someone explain this to me? Is there some weird group out there that are against fat pigs? Well, that's a pretty big group because most of us are against fat pigs. But back to the show.
This is a bad idea.
It's not really a bad idea. At this present moment, Boba's crime syndicate consists of 2 members. Another crime lord could come along with, say, 3 members and take over at any minute. So this is the crime lord and his whole gang. How shit are the other crime families that they don't just take him out? Again, has no one at Lucasfilm ever watched a gangster film? A western? Fucking The Godfather? Why is this one guy so feared by this huge town of criminals and outlaws? And the stupidity wouldn't even be a hard problem to fix. For all we knew when Jabba's barge blew up, 80% of his crew may have been back at the palace or out collecting money or committing crimes. When Boba came and took over, we could have got a cool scene where he murders Jabba's replacement, and all the other crew are happy to see Boba. He did hang around the palace for 3 years. Maybe they liked him. They could have liked the idea of him leading them. You know, there would have been one guy that wasn't happy, but then Boba got to kill him, and all the others cheered. Then he could have walked the streets with a gang as big as you like. He could have had 100 supporters around him. Instead, he has 1 sidekick with a gun and 2 pets. And this stupid setup only looks more ridiculous as the episodes go on, but we'll get to that.
Boba! Me think a hacking punta!
We also get to enjoy the wonderful new tradition of the new characters explaining to the old, original characters information the old characters should already know.
They're used to seeing the huts paraded around the streets.
Why is she telling him all about Jabba? Boba worked for Jabba for years. He was hanging around his house for years. I'm guessing he would know Jabba's protocol and how the city was run. He should probably even know the people that Jabba used to deal with for business. But because this show is terrible, Boba acts the whole time like he's never stepped foot in this town before, at a place where he used to live.
They're used to seeing the huts paraded around the streets. Jabba rarely left his chambers.
They're used to seeing Jabba carried around. Jabba rarely left his chambers. Sorry, what? Within 3 minutes, we get 2 completely contradicting lines. The people were used to seeing the huts paraded around. Well, Jabba was the only hut for a long time. Jabba rarely left his chambers. Fucking which is it? And these 2 scenes would have been filmed back to back. The cast and crew heard those 2 lines and thought, fuck it, no problem with those 2 lines contradicting each other. Our audience isn't that smart.
Would you like your helmet serviced and cleaned while you wait for Madame Garson?
Sure, why not? I'm only the new crime lord in a hostile town with no backup or gang to speak of. Take my helmet. Oh, full of money, of course. Makes total sense, as does her handing him the keys to the business.
All is well, as it is yours now.
Everyone fears that gang of 2. God help him if the gang of 3 turns up.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
Rule with respect, not fear. So the people that just handed you their protection money did it out of respect, like Boba is some type of charity. The writers are trying to tell me they didn't hand over the money out of fear of retribution. Trust me, the Godfather was respected because everyone was shit scared of him. Then Robert Rodriguez dazzles us with another terribly slow, badly choreographed, badly edited, piss-weak action scene that finishes with a wonderful gravity-defying kick. And of course it can't be Boba winning the fight. He's an OT character. He gets beaten up twice in this episode. Once here and once by Enfys Nest version 2. Because Disney really gets off on skinny small women beating up men. And that's because the men that work at Lucasfilm could literally be beaten up by a skinny small woman. That's why they write Boba as a one-person crime gang. Any man that looks slightly masculine seems like a frightening overlord to the male Lucasfilm writer. And don't say it's because Boba is still recovering. We saw him getting his ass kicked by a small skinny woman in The Mandalorian. How the fuck did Boba get his feared reputation? Yes, I know these two are highly trained killers. My point is, how many times are Lucasfilm writers going to repeat the same lame idea? The woman beating up the man. Because I didn't realise that equality was just women acting like men. Fucking Clash of the Titans. Okay, this looks interesting. Not quite up there with Mando's Sandworm, but, you know, can't expect too much. And again, to keep with the theme of modern Lucasfilm having no idea about who these characters are and what makes them interesting, we get superhuman Boba, who is now more Conan than Boba Fett. And not just in this scene, but we'll get to that in Chapter 2. Disney would lose their load if they could get a small skinny girl to beat up Schwarzenegger in his prime. Well, now that I think of it, he's old and white, so I'm guessing they'd get off on a girl beating him up today. Have you ever tried to put a tablet in a cat's mouth?
You got them back?
What about choking a bear? Good luck. Animals are fairly strong and they're pretty good at defending themselves. They know how to at least roll onto their back, which would have ended this fight and squashed Boba the Barbarian. What were those extra arms doing? Imagine if the writers didn't just write Boba kills monster and actually thought of a cool way that he might actually do it. Maybe he fashions a weapon somehow. Maybe he chokes the monster with that orange dude. In other words, if the writers can't think of a way for Boba to kill a big beast that doesn't require Boba having superhuman strength or for the animal to forget it has two sets of arms, if the writers can't get around those obstacles, then don't introduce the big four-arm monster. Think of something else. Now, I'm not saying Disney is making this one on the cheap, even though they're using the same backgrounds, costumes, and sets as Mandalorian. But Mando spent half an episode working out how to kill a sand monster. He didn't just choke it with his brute strength. Oh my god, they really do think the old guy who wandered in from the Capricorn 1 set is meant to be seen as this Conan-type warrior. How many times did Robert Rodriguez say, "Hey bro, this'll look cool" when making this fucking show? Continued in Chapter 2. Sure to get better.